Hey, everybody, this is So Many Sequels, your book club for movies. I'm Josh.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm David.
Welcome to a brand new week of the show. Welcome to our So Many Updates episode of the week. It's Sports September now on the show. So we've got a brand new sports. Well, the movie's not brand new. Spoiler alert, it's fairly old. But we're going to be talking about White Men Can't Jump later this week. Stay tuned for that. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and in your podcast app, wherever you choose to get the show, so you get that. We're shooting for our 316 YouTube subscribers, and we're getting closer and closer by the day. So hop on over there and hit that subscribe and ring that bell. Last week, we talked about A League of Their Own. You can actually go on our social media channels, our Instagram, particularly at So Many Sequels Pod, and go look at the little video with pictures of a little Garrett Stillwell, little Stillwell Garrett. Yep, that's the one. You can relive all that fun stuff. I cannot stop seeing the Capital One commercial now, by the way.
It's everywhere.
I see it everywhere.
Yeah.
And then get this, I'll get back on track. I saw a TikTok this morning of a movie creator guy who was like, here's some new physical releases for this week. And apparently they just dropped a 4K release of A League of Their Own. So on Blu-ray. So go out there and get that if you're a physical media collector.
Yeah,
It's
that's one
everywhere
for me.
now.
Hey, I'll tell you what, I put that in the top 4 of my Letterboxd after I watched it.
Oh, did you see? That's
I
a
did.
huge development.
I did. It
It
was.
is.
I had to. I was like, this movie
great
was
day.
so influential as a kid, and I cannot underscore how much I cried watching it as an adult.
Didn't even realize it.
Yeah. So I was like, it's got to go.
So, trying to guess Garrett's top 4 on Letterboxd. It's League of Their Own, Crank 2,
Why would you assume the second now?
Good Burger.
Oh yeah, we've never talked about Crank
and
2. It's always Crank 1.
And I thought you liked Crank 2 the most.
No.
Nobody
Good
likes
Burger
Crank 2 the
and
most.
Good Burger and Twister. Surely.
No. You've got one right, and it's the one that I just said.
It's Good Burger.
You did.
Oh my god. Anyway.
No, you showed me recently. No, Clue is in there, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Right?
Clue would make sense to me. Does the Crow qualify?
Yeah, it's
Or
in
is
there.
that just a special? Okay.
Okay, so
There we
so
go.
one short.
One
And it's
short.
not Crank or Crank 2.
It's not.
Is it Toy Story?
No, it's not.
Dang.
Is it Back to the
Damn it.
Future?
It is Back to the Future.
Oh, okay. That's a good
what?
guess.
Back to the Future 1?
Yep.
Well, yeah.
Look at us.
Speaking of nostalgia trips like this about old movies and stuff, I went and saw a geriatric sequel this weekend. A legacy
Yes.
sequel. I've heard them using the term now. as a
Ooh,
more
I like
positive
that.
way.
I like that.
What is it now?
Legacy sequel.
Legacy.
That's when it's good, I think, and then the
Yeah.
geriatric is when it's bad.
That's the geriatric is somewhat my own creation over here.
Not
so,
completely. Yeah, I've seen it on
I'm trying
the
to get
internet.
it to catch on.
But I went and saw Beetlejuice this weekend. I've been looking forward to it. Super excited. Love Michael Keaton. Love that original. Questionable on Tim Burton these days. He's not made a movie I care about in a while. And I've never been a real hater of his work, but I can call out a
I've
bad
seen
movie
more
when I
than I
see
don't.
it. So all that to say, I was actually really into it. Beetlejuice was a lot of fun, and I would call it a legacy sequel. It was a good story, I think, that made sense to me for why it's happening again. It felt like Tim Burton was step back into like his old shoes for a little bit. It genuinely felt like the most Tim Burton movie in the last couple decades. I went and looked at his filmography. It's probably been since Big Fish that he made a movie that I thought was like actually good. There's others I like in there. I like Sweeney Todd. It's also not really his work. So
Sure.
I was not sure if he could do it, but I think he did. Michael Keaton hasn't lost a step. Really, none of the returning cast has. Catherine O'Hara's great. Winona Ryder's great. And then the new ones, Jenna Ortega. She has worked with Tim Burton before on the Wednesday Netflix show. She's back here as Winona Ryder's daughter. And great. It's a lot of fun. And it doesn't feel like it's just, what I totally lost the word
There.
for when they just overdo it. No, well, yeah. Overdo
Cash
on the
grab.
It's cash grab, yeah, that kind of stuff.
Because that's the problem that I've had. We look at Beetlejuice, or not Beetlejuice, sorry, Ghostbusters, and we've talked about that a little bit. Well, we haven't reviewed them. We've talked about them, and they just don't feel like they have a purpose. They don't seem like they have any heart. They don't feel like they have any meaning other than hey, people want a Ghostbusters movie. Let's give them a Ghostbusters movie, right? And
Yeah.
all of these
Yeah.
other movies that are coming out seem so, I don't know, avoid of something. They're not.
Mhm.
They're just doing it because people like the IP and they think that it'll make a lot of money, and then they're like,
Mhm.
whatever, okay. And so I'm glad to hear that this is getting really good reviews, and we'll talk about it more in the box office too, about how well it's done. And it piques my interest. It's been a weird rollout because I feel like it started very I saw some negative reviews come out early. And then I saw some people say it's a good Lego sequel, you know, and ever since then, it's just gotten better and better. So I'm definitely excited to go see it.
Right, like, it's certainly not like, "Oh my god, this is the best movie of the year," but it's a
Right.
Beetlejuice sequel 30 plus years later. It's better than it has any right to be. It's very
It's
fun.
very
I wasn't checking my watch. I enjoyed it. I laughed a lot. There's even some parts where I cringed in, like, a gross out fear, like, "Ugh, what
Mhm.
is this? Ugh." There's some gross Beetlejuice stuff in this movie.
Mm.
Liked it. Yeah.
It's always interesting because we have this sort of very annoyed love-hate relationship with these sort of long, like gestating or long time period sequels because we don't want them in this sense that it feels lazy. It feels like they're just going back to something from 30 to 40 years ago and trying to use this IP, hoping that it will, bring in fans. And so you're like, but then when they actually are good, you're like, well, hey, but it was actually good. But all that does is it just sends the message to Hollywood, hey, it worked. Just keep trying. Eventually some will work,
Right, and that's always gonna be true. I mean, some are gonna work and some aren't gonna
Mhm.
work, and the lesson
Mhm.
shouldn't be to just keep throwing. It should be to, really work on which ones are the
Mhm.
good ones, so you make less bad
If
ones.
if
I
you
don't know.
can involve the original creators, if you can maybe involve the original actors. I mean, there's always going to be a I had this with the Deadwood movie that came out a couple years ago. There's always going to be a sort of reunion special element to some of these where it's like we got all the old crew back together and look how old they are and Aunt B's going to get married and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
it's very 20 years later reunion show special. But when the people who are actually involved in the first one come in and they think that they have a way, they finally think they cracked a way to make it work. I don't know. That's always something to see. I have seen some very interesting commentary about some select scenes and some select choices made by Burton and crew, specifically regarding the Soul Train and things like that. But we'll uh
Oh, yeah,
we'll we'll
yeah, yeah, yeah.
we'll save that commentary for others.
There's questions, sure. I can see I see what you're talking about. Um, so yeah, that's what I watched this week. Didn't get to many other things. Doesn't look like David did either. He did
No,
not turn in his homework this week.
no, I
Uh,
watched a Goofy movie again.
well, that's valid. But Garrett, you've been doing some TV catch up. What have you been up to?
Yeah, I've been taking a rewatch of Rings of Power on Amazon Prime, which is a great show. I highly recommend that. Great storytelling, really good acting, really good drama and action. Uh, Keeps the Lord of the Rings alive. Honestly, this is a really well done version of that. So if you haven't seen it, rewatch it and go watch season two. Josh, you watched that. Have you picked up into season two?
I have not started season 2 yet. I keep seeing it on there, and honestly, what has kept me from it isn't just not being in the right headspace because I
Fair.
know it's such a dense show,
Yeah,
that, if I'm, tired or not willing to pay 100% attention, I don't know that I'll catch it all. But
understand.
it is high on my list because of that reason? It's a lot of
Yeah,
storytelling. I
yeah.
liked the 1st season.
Yes, and on the rewatch, it's been really good. So I'm looking forward to going into season two. But then I've also been watching an old classic, nostalgic classic that
Yes.
has finally made its way back into the realm of uh, the world, I guess, really.
Yeah,
Yeah. If you have the Plex app, you can watch the Drew Carey Show from
yeah.
the mid 90s to early 2000s. Um,
Oh man.
this show was on ABC for a
Mhm,
very long time. And then it went into
mhm,
syndication on TBS, probably.
mhm.
And that's all that played. And then it stopped. And then it vanished. And then no one could
Mhm.
find the Drew Carey Show. And it was like, everyone
like
was like, why is
swallowed
it,
up.
where is the Drew Carey Show? Why is it? Everybody wanted to watch the Drew Carey Show. Nobody could watch the Drew Carey Show. Now you can if you get this app called Plex. Not great. Not a great app. You have to, it takes me about 3 or 4 tries to
But
watch
it's
an
free.
episode, but it is free.
You can watch the Drew Carey Show completely for free.
Yes.
The Drew Carey app, is that what it's? So is that the main use?
They
at this
have
point?
some stuff on there that you can have
It's my
access
only
to.
use.
I only watched the Drew Carey Show on it, and I know, yes, Josh, you've been watching
man.
it too. I've enjoyed it. You know, the
Don't get me
first
started on this.
season is kind of
Mint sitcom.
It's very different than the rest of the show. Like that whole first season feels different, but it's weird, and that's a compliment because this show feels like people who are just, they were just like, you know what, just go make a show. We don't really care. We just need it to be a sitcom. And they just are trying to make each other laugh. And the best part about that show is the side characters and their whole just weird dynamic. So I have been really enjoying it. Josh, what about you?
Totally agree. I have loved reliving the Drew Carey Show. I watched it in syndication all the time. Yes, it was on TBS all the time, but I also feel like I remember it being one of those shows that came on late at night on one of the broadcast networks, and I would like watch it before bed a lot too as a kid.
Yeah.
So then it just disappeared. The whole thing with the Drew Carey Show has always been, it is a show that has featured a lot of music that kept it off of DVD for years. They only ever released the first season, and it kept it off of streaming until now. Now, from what I've understood, because I did some digging, they have made changes to the show regarding some music. I haven't encountered it yet, but I guess there are parts where it's taken out or replaced with other things, so that we'll have to deal with. But you're right. It's such a weird show. I'm excited to get deeper into it because I also remember them doing the fun things like the live episodes they would do. They would do. Do you remember there was like a scavenger
Pop-up
hunt
video?
episode?
Yeah.
Pop-up video. They did the scavenger hunt where you had to like find what's wrong in the scene and like send a letter to ABC.
I do.
I'm curious to relive all that. But also, it's just fun to watch because this show's weird. I've seen 2 major guest stars in the first season already that have cracked me up because they were so weird. The first one was Tim Allen playing himself.
Yes.
Where he parachutes in, literally, and
Just
like
watch
goes
that
off
one.
course and lands in Drew's backyard, and he plays himself. And Drew comes out, he's like, "He's Jim Carrey," or Tim Carrey. It's Tim Allen. And basically, the conversation devolves into Drew just grunting at him over.
Drew does appear in an episode of Home Improvement as well.
Yeah.
I can't remember as what. But yes.
But then the other one in the first season is where Jamie Lee Curtis plays Drew's hairdresser, and he decides to ask her on a date, and she's way too crazy for Drew, basically. And it's just weird to see Drew Carey and Jamie Lee Curtis as any sort of love interest.
Yeah. Agreed.
Funny show.
I wish that I was with you guys on this.
You could be. Download the Plex app for free.
I will. I have to. The Drew Carey app.
us.
I'll have to get it here pretty soon. And because I also was like would watch Drew Carey show for whatever reason. I don't know. It was like if a 10-year-old created a sitcom,
pretty much.
And it was. I remember those later seasons with the weird
Maybe
stuff, like you said, the
15-year-old.
Riley, the scavenger hunt, the pop-up episodes, the live episodes that they would replay. It was such a weird, funny show. Drew and Mimi just going at each other. Also, probably 2 of the best dumb characters to ever be on television in I don't remember the characters' names, but wasn't it
Lewis and
what are their names?
Oswald?
You want to say Oswald and Lewis.
Lewis
yeah.
and Oswald, yes. Ryan Stiles and Diedrich Bader.
Yeah.
Bader. And
great side characters.
They cracked me up so much. There's at least one line from the Drew Carey Show that has stuck in my memory since I was however old, 11 years old. And Drew comes out and he goes, "Oh my God, I think that was the worst noise I've ever heard." And Ryan goes, "Have you ever started your car with a cat sleeping on your muffler?" And he goes, "No." And he goes, "Then yeah, that's the worst sound you've ever heard," or something like that. And I just think about cats sleeping inside trucks all the time after that. But I don't know. That may not be the best line, but it's one stuck with me. I may have to get on this. This will be like when we all started watching King of the Hill together.
Yeah.
And then when we all watched Tombstone in successive weeks.
Right, on accident. Yeah, it was definitely fun. All right, let's get into business here. Talk about some of the news items that have come up this week. One really cool one is kind of local interest to us,
Mhm.
and that's that the Cherokee Nation, which is headquartered here in Oklahoma, is has announced the first ever tribally operated film school, the Cherokee Film Institute, opening again right here in Oklahoma. We saw this article in Variety, which is super cool to see that kind of coverage for that kind of thing. What do you guys think about this? We've talked before about film making in Oklahoma. We've seen
Mhm.
some big movies come in here, like Killers of the Flower Moon, and one of the big issues from what I've seen is the lack of trained workers here, and this should help with that. What do you guys think?
Yeah, you would hope, for sure, is it would, we have a lot of great scenery and we have some sound stages of sorts, but yeah, we need people who are trained. The more that Hollywood, looks to come to Oklahoma and use it as a resource for filmmaking, you have to have people who know what they're doing and not just actors, but people who can work crew,
Yeah, the front
and
the
so
the real
hopefully that
frontline
helps.
crewmen are
Mhm,
who make a movie,
mhm.
and you ain't making it without them.
So I hope it works out great, and I hope that there's a Cherokee film studio somewhere along near me actually. I drive by it every now and then. So hopefully it means more good things for our state and obviously for the Cherokee Nation, and hopefully a good place for. It's not exclusively for Native students, but it is hopefully helps them. Uh, Increase Native representation in the business as well.
When I hear this, I think I go back to The Tulsa King, which is a show that stars Sylvester Stallone that was shot here for the first season. And, I was not involved, but people in Tulsa, they be talking, they be talking to each other. And one of the many problems that I heard happen on that show was that they didn't feel like they had enough qualified and trained workers. Whatever may have happened, that show ended up leaving Tulsa, and Tulsa King is no longer shot in the Tulsa. So it is a really bad reflection, especially as we are working to build this film culture. And so this is a great idea to have this ready to go. Building our own workforce. I think a lot of the incentives that we have, you have to hire a certain amount of local crew. And I think they're not shooting here because they don't feel confident that they can find that. So by tapping into this, offering this in a place that is trying to get this film stuff, it's very exciting. I think, um, you know, it provides a lot of opportunity. I can think of 4 people who host a podcast that are very interested in possibly going to school again, maybe, even like that. So I think that it creates a lot of excitement. And I even think down the line, one of the things that puts this into position to is to be able to tell more native stories. That is a huge missed opportunity to get voices heard. Can you imagine some of the incredible stories that could be told by native voices that are from their ancestors or from their heritage that just have not been told? I think about it often, and I really hope that that opens the door for this too.
Yeah, you're totally right on that. One of the major criticisms of Killers of the Flower Moon was despite all of the efforts to work with the Osage Nation to make that movie, it was still a movie told by white man Martin Scorsese. And so part of the goal of this school is, yes, to enable more Native American storytellers to tell their own stories to avoid a lot of the misrepresentation that's happened in the media over the past forever, really, as long as media's existed. There's not been a lot of great effort to amplify Native voices in film, so it's gonna be great for that. This is also going to not just help with training the state's workforce in the film industry, but also bolster the way the Cherokee Nation can tell their own stories, through many of their own productions. It's great across the board, but really, it's just good to see, um, an organization this large, a tribal government investing so heavily into the film industry in Oklahoma. I'm not sure I feel the state itself has done as much as the Cherokee Nation has.
I would probably agree with that because I mean, this is not political, but we're run by idiots most of the time. So
I think people in most states would say that.
agreed.
Yeah, yeah.
So, um, I think there's just not been a lot of thought. I don't necessarily think people have seen the benefits of it yet. But I think this will certainly help. And again, there's a lot of benefits to being in Oklahoma. I do not know the words, so I'm going to butcher this, but you can look it up. Fact check me. But Oklahoma is the most diverse when it comes to the available types of scenery you can have. We have everything but the rainforest here in Oklahoma where you could possibly shoot. You need a Mad Max. We got sand dunes over in the West End. We got we got cities here in Tulsa and Oklahoma City that look like they could be big cities anywhere else, as you can see in Twisters when they filmed it in New York. So we have
I
a
still
wide
tell
range.
everybody I know about that.
Yeah.
You
we
know,
have a
that New
wide
York scene
range.
was in OKC.
So I think this will help just kind of really, again, open the door to more and more people being, maybe it's better to go here. And maybe there are more resources than previously. So thankful for the Cherokee Nation for investing, like you said, Josh. It's a great opportunity for Oklahoma film.
Absolutely. All right, next topic here on the list. You know, we've had a
So
bad
what?
run of trailers lately is the thing. Last week we talked a bit about that Sonic trailer, and now we're
Mhm.
back with another movie, a kids movie, in the form of the Minecraft movie, or a Minecraft movie, as it's
Yeah,
called.
that's the actual title, yeah.
Did you guys take a peek at this at all?
I did.
Okay. So
Wait,
let me set the stage immediately just to say this movie's not made for us.
it's not.
Important to note there. Now, my first, why is this a live action movie?
Mhm,
That's my question.
mhm.
We see that this is clearly, well, it's some sort of live action at least. It's giving
Yeah,
or not
sort of
Jurassic.
hybrid.
It's giving Jumanji vibes. In fact,
Mhm.
I'm wondering if they literally get sucked into the video game. That's kind of
So,
what I think happens. Down
yeah,
down to having Jack Black there too.
what I've read is that it's not gonna be a video game world, but like an alternate dimension or something like that.
Sure, why would you keep the story the same?
Why would you say it? Well, it doesn't really, and the thing is, look, I'm gonna be straight with you.
Is that
Watch
Jason
this
Momoa?
trailer.
I'm watching it right over here as
Yeah,
you all are talking, but
it is Jason Momoa.
okay.
Yeah, I will admit, it's not necessarily me. I did play Minecraft a lot 10 to 15 years ago, and it was Garrett's reaction
Yeah,
is
just
getting
let
me.
him watch it in
For the audio
silence, I
viewers, I'm
assume.
watching Garrett the react to this trailer. I played Minecraft, okay? There is no story. You make the story up yourself, right? That said, this looks kinda cheap, and like, in a way that they spent a lot of money on it, but it still looks cheap. And I really, for some reason, I don't know why. I was led to believe when this movie was announced like 4 or 5 years ago that they were considering doing this in sort of a machinimated style in which they would film the movie within the engine of the game, or at the very least that they would do it kind of the way they did the Lego movie, where they animate it in a way that makes it feel like, oh, this is actually like real Legos. Now, Lego movie's not necessarily real Legos, but you'd be okay to believe it was because they really made it look like figures doing all this stuff. So I was kind of led to believe it was going to be that. So when this trailer came out, I was like, "Oh, why are they just green screened into a very fakey looking Minecraft world?" I don't think it needs to look exactly like the game necessarily, but it was just very jarring because
No, it
that's not
actually
what
kinda
I
bothers me
expected.
that the movie graphics are better than the video games graphics. That actually makes
Yeah.
no sense to me. It should look the same
Yeah, it
at
feels
best.
like it's ditching the charm of what the game
No,
was, which was that it was
literally.
a low res,
Not was, is.
experience.
It still looks like that. It still looks like that. Like, it's like they took Minecraft and decided to change everything about I don't know, but David makes a good point that this is a game that's fairly older now by video game standards, and a lot of younger adults have played it and feel a lot of ownership over it. I've seen some takes on the internet of people who were a little too much. This movie should be for me and not for kids. If you catch my drift,
Yeah.
and it's just not gonna. It's just not how it's gonna work, guys, and it
No.
shouldn't probably.
No, unless you are creative and then you can make your own movie and then bless you for it. Make a short and then maybe somebody will see it and be like, "Ooh, let's make that version." Anything can
Yeah,
happen. But
yeah.
So there's
yeah,
been
it looked bad from I did now
yeah.
here, my review, I watched it with no audio right now. So
That's the best way to do it.
it did look like it looked like something that I would like to watch with sound in a like WTF way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so, I mean, there's been a lot of talk about this online. I've seen a lot of back and forth, and there's this sort of the main piece of narrative that's coming out of it is whether or not it's okay to critique a movie that's clearly intended for children, or at least is supposed to be maybe intended for children. Because a lot of people are like, "Wow, this looks so terrible." And then you have these sort of like either real people saying this or kind of troll people going, "Well, grown men crying about a Minecraft movie for kids." And it's like, "Okay, but are you serious? Like, can we not like even if it is for kids, you can't like look at something and go, "Wow, that actually looks really cheap," and not necessarily like I don't even know if it's necessarily a lot of kids are going to enjoy it.
Right, it's a
There will be some
silly
that enjoy it.
it's a silly that's just a silly thing to say because of course you can. If we can uphold and put Pixar movies up on this almighty pedestal of animated films, then we can also have a low tier too. You can
Mhm.
critique children's movies, you just have to be realistic about it. A grown man maybe shouldn't be expected to, like, be all into the Minecraft movie, but
Mhm.
you should be able to look at it and go, "Well, that looks like something children would enjoy."
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah,
It's just it's not for you, doesn't mean
I
it's
should
not
be
for
able
someone
to
else.
recognize, like, you should be able to tell why there will be appeal.
Sure.
And kind of like even honestly, I mean, I felt the same with Borderlands. I don't feel like Borderlands was intended for kids. That was clearly it was PG-13. They wanted it to be R. It's clearly intended for people who were fans of Borderlands 10 years ago. And I think Minecraft is like a 15, almost 15-year-old game at this point. So most of the people who played Minecraft are now either in their mid-teens or older. So like I don't know, it just feels like if they made the movie for kids, I feel like they could have gone a lot of different ways with it. So I don't know. Maybe it'll be fine. I just thought it was mainly the newest trailer for this week.
Yeah,
So
like I said,
threw
just
it
a
out
bad
there.
run of trailers.
Mm.
But alright, let's start to gear ourselves toward the end of the show here. What's the box office report for this weekend with our big Beetlejuice launch look
Well,
like?
yeah, Josh, you talked about Beetlejuice, which by the way, great title decision on that. Loved it when I first saw it. That debuted huge this weekend to $110 million. At a huge opening day on Friday, I think about $40 million. It's the third highest opening of the year. Honestly, probably going to pass the original run of Beetlejuice probably by the end of its first week. I mean, that's not adjusted for inflation. I'd have to go back and look at when did that first Beetlejuice movie come out? 1980 something? I'd have to go back and look at what the inflation rate is between now and then to really know. But um, still, huge open, and big number one weekend. It knocked Deadpool out of that one spot. Deadpool now bring at number two with 7.2 million. Reagan is at number three with 5.2. Alien Romulus comes at number four with 3.9, and It Ends With Us is still hanging in the top five with 3.7. Um, Elsewhere on the in the movie charts, Inside Out 2, we talked about that a lot earlier this year, is in its 87th day of release, just 13 days left before that 100-day minimum they set for it, and it has is now the eighth highest grossing movie of all time, I believe, passing Jurassic World. I need to double check that, but it passed Jurassic World. That part I know. So, big year at the movies. Well, at least big year at the movies here in the second half of the year. And I think things are looking good going into the holiday season.
Excellent. Yeah, it was a happening crowd for me at the Beetlejuice Dolby showing Saturday night. Go check it out. The movies are happening, folks. If you're one of those people who are like, I think the movies are dead. One, you're probably not one of our watchers, viewers, or listeners. But also, you're
Probably.
just not watching, man. You're just not watching. They're out there. There's plenty of
I
bad,
think,
but there's some good too.
yeah, I think people just like saying that.
They do. They do to some extent. There's always naysayers. All right. Like I said here at the top of the show, we're in Sports September. We're gonna wrap that out for the rest of this month, and then we're gonna finish up the year with a series of themes coming up. We're gonna have our one of our most anticipated so many scares for October. And we're doing a new fun one for November. It's the 25th anniversary of the year 1999, one of the greatest years in film. So we are going to pick some movies from that year to review. And we will, of course, include fan picks as well for those. And then so many Santas to round out the year with Christmas movies. It's going to be fun. Um, Check out our social channels for our Sports September fan pick. We've gotten some great suggestions from you guys so far. We might feel free to keep sending those at So Many Sequels Pod on Instagram and Threads. Um, we'll keep taking them, and then we'll get some polls out here in the next week or so as the end of the year or end of the month approaches. You know, it's already September 8th.
Mhm.
It was just
Getting there.
September 1st. Anyway, thanks for watching or listening today, however you enjoyed the show. Please subscribe over on our YouTube channel. Help us get to that 316 goal so we can set a new one. If you want to get even more involved with the show, you can join our Patreon to get access to our exclusive Discord community where you can talk with us about movies and TV and whatever other fun things are going on with you. Remember to follow us again on social media at So Many Sequels Pod on Instagram and Threads, Facebook, and TikTok. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the show and what you'd like to hear us review next. We'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching.